Fire heating my hands slowly. Don't wanna risk burning them.
Hello, welcome back to FSC Podcast. Today we have Matt Stephen with us in the studio. Hello, Matt.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Perfect. We're going to talk a little bit about his new single, At the Heart of Things, that's out now from his musical project, SUNI, and a little bit about his musical career up to this point and what he's going to be up to next. So this is your first single.
Yeah,
yes?
first official single.
First official single. What's been sort of the journey up until this point? What sort of got you into music? How long have you been doing it for?
For a while. I started learning guitar when I think I was maybe like 8 or 9.
Oh.
And I went to lessons for 3 or 4 months sort of thing. And then like guitar teachers are like notoriously, because they're all like touring musicians a lot of times, so they'll just disappear, you know. Like I remember one time like we just went and my guitar teacher just wasn't there. And then we went the next week and he wasn't there either. So, you know, it was no text to say that. But that's quite common.
Yeah.
So I just started teaching myself after that. And then that kind of fostered an attitude that, like, when it comes to music, I'll just kind of teach myself and do it myself. So learned guitar and then joined a band, but actually started playing drums in the band.
Right.
Played drums for maybe 3 or 4 years with the band, and a few different bands, same kind of people. And then I played bass in a band for a wee bit, and then I went off to uni and didn't really do very much. Hardly even played guitar. I'd never written a song by this point.
Right.
I'd written like little riffs and stuff here and there, but it was always the other people I was working with in bands with that would write the songs, you know.
Yeah.
And then when I came back from uni, I moved back home and I just picked up the guitar and got like kind of re-obsessed with it, you know.
Sure.
And and then that was maybe about 5 years ago, and just started 4 or 5 years ago and just started writing songs again.
Yeah.
And yeah, about just under 2 years ago is when it was kind of getting to the point where I'm either going to take this seriously or I'm not. And I decided that the idea of not taking it seriously and just letting it kind of dwindle out of my life, I didn't want to do. You know, I wanted to actually give it a bash.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much
sort of
it.
like the same thing as when your guitar teacher left, you sort of have to impose that structure on it yourself, sort of thing.
Very much so. Yeah, I think it's a good idea as well to kind of do things yourself and not necessarily have someone teaching you, because then you can. Well, a lot of my favourite musicians are all self-taught. I feel like all the good ones are self-taught in a large way.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's great. So about 2 years ago, is that when the sort of SUNI sort of musical project came about, or is that a more recent thing?
Yeah, it was. I think it was not last December, but the December before.
Yeah.
My birthday's in December, so I got a load of musical equipment just for my birthday, and I was like, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I downloaded Logic, which is like Apple's own kind of music making software.
Sure.
And I was just like, whether it kills me, I'm going to try and get 3 songs that are like vaguely listenable, and managed that. And that was when I was like, right, I need a name for it. And that's when I came up with SUNI, and it just kind of felt right.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of cracked on with that. I just kept releasing home recorded stuff, because I'm very much an amateur at the whole home recording thing. I'm a lot better than I was when I started, but I'm still quite far away from, you know, strong professional sounding music just recorded at home by myself, you know.
I mean, that must be hard to teach yourself as well. It's a lot of different processes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so difficult. I knew it would be difficult, but it's so much more complicated than I realised. But it's really good though, because it gives you like this. I now can't. like when I listen to professional music, like I can't believe how good it is, because I now like feel like I've seen behind the curtain a wee bit.
You know how difficult it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like when like you hear about people who watch boxing, and like I feel like boxing is a sport. There's certain sports you can watch when you don't really have any knowledge of how you play it, but then there's certain sports you really need to have a knowledge to appreciate it, kind of thing. And I feel like it's like that, in a sense of once you, because boxing to me just isn't entertaining at all. But there's certain people, podcasters I follow who are fighters, and when they talk about it, you realize like how much is actually going on that you don't realize. And I think it's kind of like that. Like once you peek around the curtain, you realize like how much is going into this. It just makes it even more amazing. Yeah,
it gives you like a better appreciation for it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Perfect. Well, could you talk about your writing process a little bit? Like, how do you start writing a song, and how does it sort of start with the music or the lyrics, or?
It normally starts with me just fiddling about on the guitar. The vast majority of the songs are written like that. So the one I recorded with this project, I had the initial chord structure for the verses, and then it normally just comes like I'll get a first line, and then from there it normally just comes if I just keep, for 2 or 3 hours just sat in the same place and just playing it over and over again and trying different things. It normally gets to that point. And then sometimes I record it just on my iPhone, and then I'll listen to them back. And if a few days have gone by, then you can normally get over the initial excitement and you can see it for what it is. And sometimes it's rubbish, and sometimes it's actually all right. But for this one, I rewrote it like a couple of times, and then eventually got to something I liked. Right.
So this April, you were successfully selected for Creative Scotland's Youth Music Initiative, and sort of recorded and produced this single through that. Could you talk to us a little bit about that, like how you found out about it, how you sort of applied, and what it sort of what it actually is?
Yeah. So it was actually, just like Facebook ads. So it just popped up on my auntie's timeline, just as a Facebook ad, and she just screenshotted it and sent it to me. And it's kind of one of those things where when you've made a song yourself and it's done, like all the effort's done. It takes nothing just to submit it, even if you think like there's no chance that you'll. So I just submitted one of the songs, and they wanted like 200-300 words bio that took 2 seconds to write, and didn't really think much of it. And then about 3 or 4 weeks later, I found out that I'd been selected for it, but I didn't know what it was, like, because I never even took time to really read about it. So I got on the phone with the guy, Mike, who runs it, and he's the head of sound engineering at the Dundee and Angus Music College. And he basically explained to me that about 10 artists are selected, and what they get is 15 hours free studio time. They get funding for a professional video. They get Mike himself as the engineer for your project, and then you get a mentor as well. And then what a mentor is like, these are guys that have worked in the music industry for 15-20 years, and they kind of help you with arranging the song, etc. If you need that sort of help. So that's basically what the project was.
And so was it a big difference going from doing your sort of home recordings, everything self-produced, like you're sort of doing it all yourself, to then going into a studio, having these people helping you who are, experts in the field? Like, what was that like?
Oh, it was just so much easier. Because I think most artists, if they get signed to a label, they work alongside an engineer a lot of the time. That's at the bare minimum. Then if if they're kind of a pop star, there'll be 5 or 6 other people in the studio, you know,
Sure.
helping them write the song, etc. But bare minimum, you have an engineer there, and the engineer is like, you communicate to them an idea, and then they know how to get that idea on the software, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
if you say, I want it, you know, I want a lot of space in this part with etc., they know how to. So it was just so nice to have someone that I could. It was just a lot less frustration, because I always feel like I know how I want it to sound, but I can never actually get the sound myself just yet.
Yeah.
You know, so having that was great. It was really intense though, because of the time, you know, only 15 hours.
Sure.
It ended up being more like 23. And I credit where credit's due, they never charged me, even though I offered to pay.
Yeah,
They never
that's
charged me for
great.
the extra 8 hours, which is
Yeah.
incredible. But yeah, that's why I decided to play everything on it myself, because I
Yeah.
wouldn't, moving forward, if I have enough money to book some studio time myself, I don't want to do that, because, you know, I can play drums, I can play bass, etc., but not in the way that a professional drummer could,
Sure.
not in the way that some people I know who are really good at drums could.
Yeah.
But because time was so much of the essence, it was kind of like the only way to get it all done was that if I played everything and I knew what it was going to be, so that we weren't having these like 3-4 hour kind of back and forth with a drummer
Yeah.
of like, oh, this is what I'm thinking, oh no, this is
Yeah.
what I'm thinking, you know, because that's 3 or 4 hours gone,
Exactly.
you know.
Yeah. So why did you choose this song out of, you know, the other songs that you have? Was there a particular reason this one stood out to you, or?
I played a few for my girlfriend and just asked her what she thought. And this was the one that she kind of honed in on.
Yeah.
Because I find it quite hard to tell which ones are. I can kind of tell. I can normally tell if something's good,
Yeah.
and I should keep it, or if it's bad and I won't do anything with it. But apart from that, I can't really tell. I can't tell what is good amongst the ones I've kept.
Yeah. It's hard to be objective when.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really hard. Plus as well, when you're playing it, you can't listen to it because you're playing it, and then when you listen back to your own voice notes, like, you've got the bias of it's your own voice, you're
Sure.
cringing at that
Yeah.
and everything. So she kind of honed in on that one. So, and then I think what really convinced me is I made a demo of it at home, because once again, to save as much time as possible, I didn't want to be wasting all this time being like, oh, do you think we need any piano there?
Yeah.
Blah, blah,
of
blah.
course.
I wanted to know exactly all the parts, and then I wanted the studio time to just be me replicating all the parts.
Yeah.
And it was basically when I made the home demo that I was like, okay, like this one I feel like could be good.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, all the harmonies on the song that's actually on Spotify, they were recorded at my flat.
Oh wow.
We never actually re-recorded them
Yeah.
because Mike thought they were good enough. So,
Yeah. That's
which was
great.
really handy. It saved so much
Yeah,
time.
of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did the song not really end up changing much then from the home demos to the studio recording?
No, it didn't really change at all. My mentor, a guy called Dave, he really only ended up, he was really good at this, like really just helping get the right sound.
Yeah.
Apart from that, there was one change he made where I was singing at the end of the chorus, like I would sing at the heart of things twice.
Yeah.
And he was like, why don't you just sing at the heart of the second time?
Yeah.
And that was pretty much like the only change.
Wow.
Everything else was like the exact same.
Yeah.
So
most of the actual development sort of happened through the home sort of recording, like the different demos you were making.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Sort of rewrote it there and then went to the studio just with it finished.
Yeah, because just never ever would have been able to do it in time, because I never realized, because some songs, you know, only require maybe 3 or 4 tracks, and then you've got everything there. If it's a really slow acoustic kind of song, maybe you only need a bit of drums, a bass, and synth or something. Maybe that's all you need. But this song just kept growing and growing, and then it became evident that I really, like, the studio sessions were like progressively less stressful. Like the first one was like really stressful because every time I messed up a take, I would be reminded of like how much we had to do and how much I needed to get the next take right.
Yeah. But after you had sort of a foundation there, you sort of built upon it. It sort of became less pressure to get it right first time. Yeah, because
it wasn't natural as well for it to be like all on me.
Yeah.
It felt I hadn't played drums in 2 years.
Yeah.
But I went to a recording studio in Rosyth and just rented out the drum kit for like 6 hours and just got the drum bit down. But even then, you know, that was me recording the drum parts to this, having only played 6 hours of drums in 2 years. You know, it wasn't exactly like I was brimming with confidence, you know.
And then you have like professional sound engineers there. Like, does that also put more pressure on you?
Oh yeah, that's a good point as well. Like having an audience.
Yeah.
Like
you're not sitting at home like playing your guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. And because it's like you're in one room and they're like through the glass at the big desk, so you always feel like you're being watched, you know. And but I did settle into it. Like I'd say by the 4th and the 5th session, I felt a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, start to feel more natural.
Yeah,
that's good. So what do you think is sort of like your next step with your music? Do you think you'll be recording more singles like this, or do you think you'll focus more on like live performances?
I think the live performances, I'm quite keen to get into just playing covers for the financial reasons. Like it's quite good money to play covers, you know, like part-time sort of thing. But in terms of live performances about the music, I will do things. I'll probably slip original songs into the covers sets, you know, just a few here and there. But realistically, I just want to focus on writing and getting better at home recording. Because I've obviously got Mike now as a contact, I actually spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, and because I'm working on an EP at the moment, but like I'm conscious of the fact I can really only get it with my current skills to maybe like 80% of where it needs to be. So I spoke to him about possibly us meeting up again and me renting out the studio and paying for his time, and him kind of squeezing that extra 20% out of the 3 songs.
Yeah.
You know, with me. And I was like, I'd be in the room, I could help you.
Yeah. It's great that, you know, it's not only the studio time and stuff you sort of get from this, it's the contacts
I think
and the networking and everything.
The contacts and the confidence were the main things, you know, to hear like professional musicians say nice things about your music was really good. And then also just to watch Mike and Dave kind of talking about things, because they would hear things that I just could not hear.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Mike would be, there's this thing called de-essing, which is all the S's in a vocal recording. You can put on a de-esser and you like find the frequency where the S's lie, and you can lower the volume.
Wow.
It just makes it sound nice and polished. It's one of the things. But I was watching him do that, and he was trying to, you know, teach me. But it goes to show like how much of it just must come from like 15, 20 years of experience. Because he was telling me, he was like, "Do you know? Can you hear that? That's where it is." And I was like, "I can't hear anything." Like I go and like but I couldn't hear the difference, but it did sound better once he'd put
Yeah.
it on. But I had no idea what he'd
You
done.
wouldn't have been able to like sort of pinpoint what it was if he
not
hadn't
at
told
all.
you.
Not at all. He was like, "Oh, do you not see it's at 6,500?"
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I just didn't see. But there was loads of moments like that where Dave and Mike were speaking and being like, "Oh, do you think it's dragging a wee bit there?" And just didn't. I couldn't hear what they were hearing, but it was useful to see how experience clearly gets you to that
course, yeah.
point.
And then going forward, you probably, I mean, you might not pick up the essays, but there's probably things that you have learned that will help your home recording as well.
Definitely. I mean, I think if I hadn't had the year and a half of home recording experience before that, I wouldn't have been able to communicate as well.
Of course.
Because I was able to provide, like, kind of ramble a wee bit in that kind of software language a wee bit about.
You knew the basics.
Exactly. And Mike, if I hadn't been able to know the basics, Mike probably wouldn't have been able to understand what I was, because he was able to just take what I was saying and then kind of extrapolate upon it and be like, "Oh, is this kind of what you mean?"
Sure. Yeah. And then going forward, you'll probably be, even more comfortable in the studio and everything because of this experience as well.
I'm wanting to, hopefully working with him as well, is, I'll actually be, because, the first session was the first time I'd ever met him.
Yeah.
So it was, within 10 minutes of meeting him, we were getting the guitar mic'd up and we were like, because just time was of the essence. So it'll be much nicer now that I actually know him.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a lot easier to communicate certain things, because, you're kind of, you're also wanting to make a good impression just because you're around a new person.
Of course.
Which maybe, I guess, puts maybe a barrier in between just being able to launch into what you actually want to speak about.
Yeah, not be so self-conscious about it even.
Yeah, because also I'm like significantly younger than them.
Yeah.
I didn't want to just start, like, this is how it needs to be. Yeah, exactly. So I just kind of sat in silence for, plus they were like really good friends, so they would just speak.
Sure.
And
you'd just be sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, sounds like a very good experience for you, like a learning experience. And
yeah, I would recommend it to anyone.
Yeah.
They take applicants, I think it's 17 to 25 years old, or maybe 18 to 25.
Yeah.
And I would recommend it to anyone.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's one of those things I couldn't believe that it existed because of how much you got out of it.
Of course. And that it's not more well known. Yeah,
that's the other thing. I could not believe how, because there was a significant amount of applicants, but it wasn't, you're not talking like hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah.
Which is what it should be.
Yeah. Yeah. Really
so I feel like quite lucky in the sense, Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Matt, thank you very much for being here. At the Heart of Things by SUNI is out now on every streaming service.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
So everyone should go listen to it. And I think we're going to get a little performance now.
Yeah, I'll give it my best shot.
Perfect. Great. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I would say, just before we go, I would say the best way to find it on Spotify is, because annoyingly there's another person called Sunny.
Right.
Who comes up first. So the best thing to do is just to actually type in At the Heart of Things.
Yeah.
And it's the first one that comes up. So it's better to search the song name than the artist.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Everyone should go check out At the Heart of Things, out now. And thank you for being here, Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Meet me in the bathroom. We'll take shots of liquor and I'll hold your figure in the palm of my hand. I've been gripping on your waist again, savoring the taste again that's hanging off my lips that I do press right up against you. You've been far away, You did not know what to say, and I can't see it ever leaving me. I hope you can rest, you're my lady. I know deep down we're all complexes. At the heart of things we're all messes. Ooh, at the heart of things. Ooh, at the heart of. I just needed to change my tone, come at it from a different angle, and a different angle, baby, get a handle upon what you are going through. Let me talk to you. You've been far away. You did not know what to say, and I can't see it ever leaving me. I hope you can rest, you're my lady. I know deep down we're all complexes. At the heart of things we're all messes. Ooh, at the heart of things. Ooh, at the heart of. Ooh la la, ooh la la. I have the time, let me understand you. Ooh la la, ooh la la. I have the time. Do you have the time? And I can't see it ever leaving me. I hope you can rest, you're my lady. I know deep down we're all complexes. At the heart of things we're all messes. And I can't see it ever leaving me. I hope you can rest, you're my lady. I know deep down we're all complexes. At the heart of things we're all messes. Ooh, at the heart of things. Ooh, at the heart of. And at the heart of things. That don't mean we can have a good time. When at the heart of things.
And now Matt Stephen is going to sing us a brand new song called Fire.
Fire, heating my hands slowly. Don't wanna risk burning them. Desire, learning how to control me. Don't wanna stay where I stand. I just really wanna go out, lose my mind a bit. Yeah, I just really wanna go out. How does that sound? All this TikTok bullshit. Yeah, the endless scroll. Everyone's so American culture makes me wanna go out with her. It makes me wanna lose my mind with her. And I can't think of no one that I'd rather be out with, rather be out with. I heard it's 2 for 1 just down the road from us. Just down the road from us. And fire heating my hands slowly. Don't wanna risk burning them. Desire leading my hand slowly. Don't wanna stay where I stand.